Hi, I'm Leo Birnbaum. I'm member of the board of E.ON SE, a big international energy company.
And I am Albiera Antinori, president of the family winery, a family that is all working in the winery and it has a very long history and tradition of winemaking in Tuscany.
So before we start, maybe, where the hell are we here?
Well, it's a special place actually, because it's very different than what you would expect as a winery from a very old family with long traditions in quality wines. One would think Antinori, old houses, old castles, old estates, but this is definitely something different. And this is a winery that we inaugurated in 2012, and it's in the center of Chianti Classico. This is where our headquarters are. This is where we make all our Chianti Classico wines, which are actually resting in the barrels here and just behind. But the interesting thing is that it's a contemporary building, but it's a building that retains all the tradition, the principle of tradition, the essence lines, the simple lines, the local materials, but with innovation. So for us, tradition and innovation is always something that has been leading our history since 1200.
Yeah, that's an incredible. We'll talk about that tradition. But you just mentioned innovation, and indeed, innovation is the one thing which is really transforming my industry right now. We get renewables coming in, which changed completely the way we produce electricity. We get e-mobility coming into our sector, which actually converges now the mobility sector with the energy sector. We have digital technologies which help us to steer our grids in a way which was completely impossible in the past. So our industry is completely transformed by innovation. And you just now mentioned innovation in winemaking. So what is the innovation which is really transforming your industry right now?
Well, winemaking at the end is a business that is still the way it has always been. I mean, you plant the vines, you grow the grapes, you wait for the climate, you pick the grapes at the right moment. A lot of innovation has come in the part of the control, analysis, in the logistics. So it is a business that is always in the middle with the tradition, because we've got the same rhythms since centuries that go 365 days around the year, because we can't make it shorter. But for a product like ours, we have to be careful in not exaggerating too much in the innovation, not being dragged too much in the innovation.
Are you experiencing in your industry changes in microclimates which make you think whether you have to change varieties, whether you have to change the way you produce the wine? Is that a factor already?
Well, it's actually undeniable that climate is changing. We are experiencing, as you said, extremes, and agricultural people don't really like extremes because life becomes more complicated. One of the first things and most important in terms of reaction is water management. The fact, let's say that after the war in Italy, we were all concentrated in planting new vineyards, not really had our mind on the water issue. But in the past 10 years, we've been looking to make sure that all our lakes were well kept, so that we could capture water when we had and eventually use it when we hadn't. But it means, you know, that you have to think about it. You have to look after your lakes, you have to clean your rivers, you have to make sure that your vineyards are planted in the right way so that erosion doesn't come down. You have to plant woods, plant plants, lot of things can be done.
What is changing also our industry is that consumers now have different requirements. Sustainability becomes more important, also because of the perception that others have upon what you are doing. Is that a relevant thought of your customers, or is it the responsibility you take, but your customers, I mean, do you feel that they appreciate all your efforts?
I think they appreciate it. Probably we don't even make it an evident point. This is because we feel that it's got to be done anyway. Also because the concept of sustainability is a very composite concept. It can be done from the small things that can be, you know, switching the light off when you leave a room or the air conditioning off when you leave a room and you don't use it, onto everyday habits. Actually, in terms of sustainability, I mean, here we are in a building that we inaugurated in 2012. The interesting thing is that this building is the winery. It's been put under the mountain. It's covered with the vineyards, which has a low visibility, a low impatto ambientale. This is what we say. Yeah,
environmental impact, yeah.
Exactly. But more than anything, it tried to use less possible energy, in the sense that the temperature is kept cool by the deepness. We invented nothing, in the sense that cellars are always underground.
How deep are we underground here?
We're about 25 meters.
Wow.
So the reduction of the use of energy is something that you probably like less, in the sense that we buy all the energy from you, but we will use less by having all these sustainable things.
Yeah, but actually I think it's a misunderstanding. Efficiency is not a problem for us. It's really an objective. We have now said we will focus completely on networks and customer solutions. And so what is good for customers in the long run is also good for us. So if we would short-term optimize, maybe a kilowatt hour more would be great. But the reality is, if we can find sustainable ways for you to consume less, it's going to be good for you, but it's also going to be good for us, because it helps us to enter into a long-term relationship, which is much more endurable and much more sustainable for us than selling just kilowatt hours. And if I put it into a bigger context, we're trying to get to a carbon-free energy system, and we can only achieve that not by building renewables, we need to build renewables, but by increasing efficiency in a dramatic way. So, no, it's not a problem. It's exactly what we try to achieve.
That's good also, because I think, especially in this country, there is a lot that can be done on efficiency from the companies,
everywhere.
From the people.
But you said it earlier, it requires a mindset change. It requires a mindset change with consumers, with companies, but also it requires the mindset change. It's our joint effort that we really try to achieve that. So it's not that I try to sell you more. I'm actually happy to supply all your estates, and so like every cellar that you have. But for me, building a PV station, which reduces your consumption from the grid, makes more sense than selling you a few more kilowatt hours. Albiera, it has been a true pleasure talking to you. I've learned so much today about Antinori wine, but I truly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
It has been a very nice chat about common objectives.